All in all, I think it's fair to say that iOS had a really great year in 2015, but there is still some hopes and dreams that I have for the future. So here's my iOS wishlist for 2016. To start off, this wishlist is in no particular order, but rather it's just 5 things I really hope to see in the future of iOS, specifically later this year. The first is more 3D touch shortcuts on the home screen. With the launch of iOS 9 and the iPhone 6s, there's a very good foundation if you own an iPhone 6s or 6s Plus, but there's still some common sense places that 3D touch is missing, especially for example like on the settings app on the home screen. It would be so useful here, but it's just not there, or on the watch app, or on the activity app, or on the health app. There's some places and even places inside of apps that I think 3D touch could be super useful if it was implemented, but they're just gone. So I really hope to see improvements for 3D touch shortcuts in the future. Next up, I would love to see continued improvements to Apple Music. Apple Music has gotten really good in the past couple of months. Not that it was bad to start out, but there's been some great improvements that make sense. Like, for example, until iOS 9.2, you just couldn't create a playlist from anywhere on the Music app, which now you can. So it's common sense things like that that we're missing that I'm finally glad to see are coming back into the Music app. Apple Music is really good. I recently switched back from Spotify to Apple Music, and I love it. It's a great service, and I really hope Apple keeps up the habit of improving Apple Music throughout every couple of iOS releases and updates in the future. I would also love to see in 2016 more 3D touch wallpapers. I think that the starting 9 are nice and great, but here's a $1 million business idea literally. If Apple was to update some part of their App Store or maybe even the iTunes Store where you could buy 3D touchable wallpapers, I think that they would make a killing. Now, in the end, this would probably account for less than a half of a percent of their fiscal 2016 earnings, but I know that if they added more wallpapers, not even fish, but I don't know, let's say flames or like grass moving, just these real life animations that you could touch with your finger and they would animate, I would buy them, and I have a feeling a lot of you guys would probably be interested in them too. Now, this fourth one really hits home with I know a lot of you out there, and that's speed and performance improvements not only throughout the year with iOS, but I would say it is mandatory on launch day. In recent memory, Apple does a really good job at catching up and fixing their mistakes later in the year, but then people are stuck with slow phones and iPads and iPods and MacBooks for 2 or 3 months, and they just kind of have to deal with it. I think that for a company like Apple, with the scope of their resources and considering that they are the most rich company in the world and arguably the most powerful company in the world, making iOS stable on day 1 would not be a challenge. Now, I don't work at Apple, I don't know the challenges that their engineering team faces, but I think that they could hire a few more people and just have iOS stable. And then finally, my number 1 wish for 2016, if one thing Apple could do to make me love iOS more, it would be to give users the option to delete or hide apps in their entirety that they don't want to use. I mean, this has literally been a request since iPhone OS 1, which was, fun fact, what iOS was called before it was iOS. I just want to be able to delete Game Center. I'm sorry, I've tried Apple. I have tried to like Game Center, but I don't use it. And I don't really know anybody that does use Game Center, so why don't we have the option in 2016 to delete that app off of our phone? Not to mention that deleting some apps that you don't want on your phone could totally free up some space for you to install apps that you actually do want to use. So please let me know what you think about my wish list by leaving a comment down below. More importantly, if you could have one feature built into iOS in 2016, what would it be? I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'll try to respond to the most interesting ones I see. I hope you guys have a great day, subscribe for more Apple content similar to this, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.